Hi friends, in Planet Earth Dating, it's Tuesday, May 1st, 2018. Happy May Day. In both the Lynn Life and the Jamie Body Mind, the authorized souls remain only child souls from the deeper, denser dimensions, and all other souls from all other dimensions, as long as they are already living by the Search for Truth rules given to the Search for Truth community by wiser minds above all of us. And those rules include contributing more to the Search for Truth assignments, to completing these assignments, than we take or use or borrow in Search for Truth resources.
That's true.
As always, our foundational intention remains to do what is ours to do right now in all dimensions, to create worlds that work in all dimensions and for all categories of sentience, the data very clearly showing that it's impossible for us to have an impact in dimensions of this size and larger, and that we can only have impacts in the smaller realms, the deeper, denser dimension realms, but that it's actually difficult to know what is possible by shaking up the foundations of life, possibly by changing the underpinnings of life. Something can change on the larger scale.
That's true.
Does anything matter more than survival of the truth? There are presences who are considering that, and some of them are still grumpily refusing to consider the inquiry. They're actually just not asking the question.
That's true.
And others have been carrying out this inquiry for a little bit, and they think it's possible that nothing matters more than survival of the truth, and they don't like that because there are so many inconvenient realities that are hindrances to living the lives they expected to live and wanted to live.
That's true.
And surely we can all relate to that. There's a Downy Woodpecker there, a Downy, and there was a pair of them. I saw them flying together, and that one landed right there. They're having a tough time of it, Downies are,
That's
because
true.
they're small and they need small branches, and humanoids have come to believe that there's some value in, quote, cleaning up the trees, unquote, which knocks down the Downy's food, and they're having a tough go of it.
That's true.
There's so many things that sound good. If somebody says, do you want me to clean up your trees for you, some tree guy,
No.
it seems like the correct answer should be yes, because cleaning is good. But it's actually a bad idea. And what they're really wanting to do is get paid for a job that isn't really difficult to do, and it's a lot easier to take down a bunch of small dead twigs and Spanish moss than it is to take off big limbs that are heavy.
That's true.
So the tree people want to, quote, clean up the trees, and now the populace has come to believe that there's some value in cleaning up the trees, and these poor Downies are being pushed possibly into endangered status.
That's true.
Presumably they are, because we don't see them in areas where we used to see them all the time, so something's happened. It's not good.
That's true.
Our Ra would have said, it's all in the definition. He would have asked, what do you mean by that? Do you want me to clean up your trees? What do you mean by that? He was really good at that,
That's
at
true.
asking these foundational questions, and people often get irritated. We have one of these discussion groups, that's what's going on. People often get irritated when we want to define terms. They don't want to pause and define terms, and somebody's asking, why do you think that is? And another person is saying, in part because they don't want to be pinned down. They want to be able to use squishy terms that sound good and allow them to do what it is they really want to do that isn't actually helpful or good.
That's true.
Kind of like the arborists saying, do you want me to clean up your trees?
That's true.
Why do you ask?
Why do you ask? Why?
The attention keeps coming back to the edict that Pan gave to the nature realms, and as guardian of the nature realms, it's well within his rights to give edicts to the nature realms. And he says basically, I can't change what anybody does outside the nature realms, and for the most part I can't change anything inside the nature realms either, but I can say what's lawful behavior inside the nature realms. And he has given an edict that there is to be no more parasitism inside the nature realms, that symbiosis is fine, but that parasitism is not okay.
That's true.
And in the nature realms, parasitism used to be considered in poor taste. With Pan's recent edict, inside the nature realms, parasitism is now considered a crime of treason against the nature realms. And somebody's asking why that would be. And somebody else says, well, it's because when we are present with parasitism all around us, we become inured to parasitism and can no longer tell when it steps into our presence. And this is making it really hard for the nature realms presences to notice when the larger parasites from larger dimensions come in. This Downy Woodpecker is flying closer and closer and closer and closer. Soon he's going to be sitting on our camera.
That's true.
Hi, little guy.
Hello.
Or little lady. And there he goes. For whom is the message? Why do you ask? I still hear them.
That's true.
I hear them. They're still close. That's a Downy's tap.
That's
It's so
true.
small. Sometime in the most recent overnight, Pan and his crews have packed up a number of crates of things, and the crates are sealed, and we are supposed to deliver them up to Ra with the label, to Ra, extreme biohazard data from the deeper, denser dimensions, and to send them up to Ra, extreme biohazard data from the deeper, denser dimensions. The Downy is still here, or the other Downy is here, or another Downy is here, but there were two in the area, and one flew over there, and that one is still right above us. To Ra, extreme biohazard data from the deeper, denser dimensions. And we're supposed to have placed our guess as to what's in these crates. We aren't allowed to open them. We believe that what's in the crates are social justifications that allow parasitism.
That's true.
And in this morning's trying to work through what's in these crates and what does it mean and what does it feel like, we see that just as bullying is an error pattern that males tend to fall into, that parasitism is an error pattern that females tend to fall into.
That's true.
When life is too easy, in the times when there's more work to be done than one person can do, both males and females are working all the time. But in situations where life has become too easy, sadly, many females tend to just become parasitic.
That's true.
It's unfortunate. Why do you ask? Well, they're talking about the edict in the nature realms and what it means. And when Pan says symbiosis is okay, and the symbiosis doesn't have to be exactly perfectly balanced, as long as there are contributions such that someone is at least carrying their own weight, that it's acceptable. But he says they need to carry their own weight, which might mean the greater efforts fall on the other party's shoulders, but that this person at least is neutral, or presence or sentience is at least neutral. He says that's the standard that's being applied inside the nature realms. And the example that was given is resurrection fern,
That's true.
which does grow on trees, big old trees, particularly oaks. They like oaks.
That's true.
And the ferns aren't actively helping the oaks, but they do serve as an excellent rain gauge.
That's true.
They show when we're not getting adequate rain. And that is useful, actually. And somebody's asking why that would be useful. It's useful because the presences in less dense dimensions that are supposed to be controlling the rain often can't really tell if the rain is making it through the astrals all the way down to the dimensions in which they're trying to create rain.
That's true.
And the resurrection fern is helpful. When the resurrection fern is still brown, still curled up, that's inadequate. The rain didn't make it here. And that's what we have in this dimension. We have brown, curled up resurrection fern.
That's true.
For whom is the message? Why do you ask? Again, the conversation keeps coming around to where the line is between parasitism and acceptable symbiosis.
Yes, I hear them.
The line is that we must at least carry our own weight. In the case of resurrection fern, it doesn't weigh a lot. It's not demanding much from the trees. And
That's
it
true.
does serve as a rain gauge so that those less dense presences who are responsible for the rain can tell if it's making it through the astrals.
That's true.
In the case of the grapevines, they are heavier and they weigh down the trees, and they don't serve any useful purpose that we can tell. They shade out the trees and they kill the trees.
That's true.
Why do you ask?
Why do you ask?
They're still tapping on that line between symbiosis and parasitism. And I think what they're
That's true.
talking about is sled sitters, which is
Yes.
the term that's used for less dense presences who are simply living parasitically off a host life, a denser host life, and aren't contributing to the process. And how that's different from souls who have good intentions to help, and they're trying to help the lives figure out little local dilemmas, problems local to the life, specialized to that life, and also trying to contribute to the larger efforts on which the life will be judged when it, quote, dies, unquote, when it ends and transitions. We will be judged, all of us. We are judged, evaluated based on what we accomplished on our soul plan.
That's true.
Why do you ask? It feels well-intentioned. It feels like I really want to know how much I'm supposed to be contributing in this process.
That's true.
But it feels like good intentions.
Yeah, it does.
That could be wishful thinking. It's an error pattern of mine,
That's true.
wishful thinking, of ours, whoever's speaking. I can't quite tell who's speaking. Wishful thinking is an error pattern of this collective. We agree.
That's true. Very much.
Hello, my old friend, wishful thinking.
Wishful thinking. Correct the error.
We can correct the errors of wishful thinking. Does anything matter more than survival of the truth? Does anything matter more than survival of the truth? So far, in all these years that inquiry has been pursued, not one person has put on the table anything that actually matters more than survival of the truth.
That's true.
Our working theory has become that actually nothing matters more than survival of the truth. Our Ra used to say other things might matter equally. Having good intentions might matter equally. Having adequate awareness might matter equally, but nothing matters more than survival of the truth. Does anything matter more than survival of the truth? And maybe now we just pump up those crates. To Ra, extreme biohazard. Data from the deeper, denser dimensions. And so it is an extreme biohazard to make justifications for parasitism.
That's true.
It isn't okay. Friends, we have enough humans on the planet. We don't need any more humans. It is not okay for women to have babies and stop contributing to the process under the pretense that they're doing a good thing by staying home and raising children. We don't need children. If you find yourself pregnant, there are options, and you can have an abortion. No babies. Cut off the baby factories. We have 7.5 billion with a B humans on the planet. That's too much. The actual ideal amount seems to be under 1 billion.
That's
under
true.
1 billion. We have 7.5 billion. No babies. Women who have babies and stay home to raise them should not be viewed as doing a good thing. That's not a good thing. It's completely not what the situation calls for at all. I'm sorry. Find another way to contribute and be valued. That's not a good way. I'm sorry. And please, for goodness sakes, don't go into Western medicine. That has become the religion of the 21st century.
That's
Western
true.
medicine has, and those people in white coats hold themselves up as priests. They're saying that they know what's true, and often what they say is absolutely crazy until we start to follow the money, do a little bit of forensic accounting, and discover that, oh, they have a financial interest in that Alzheimer's care facility. That's why they're recommending that patient be removed from her familiar surroundings and be put into a care facility, because he has an ownership interest in it,
That's true.
and so on. Does anything matter more than survival of the truth?